Göbekli Tepe wasn't a temple. We called it a temple because we didn't have a better word for what we were looking at. A structure 12,000 years old, built before agriculture, before writing, before the wheel, by people we assumed weren't capable of it. That assumption was already wrong. What we didn't know, what nobody knew until the excavations of the last decade, is that Göbekli Tepe wasn't alone. There are 12 of them. 12 sites. Same T-shaped pillars, same symbolic vocabulary, same deliberate burial, all within the same region of southeastern Turkey, all dating back 11 to 12,000 years. And they were all buried. On purpose. Tonight, the siblings of Göbekli Tepe. What they are. What they change. And why every single one of them was sealed beneath the earth by the people who built them. 4 questions. The 12. Why 12 sites changes everything we thought we knew about early human capability. Karahan Tepe, the disturbing one, and what its excavators found inside. The burial question. Why every single site was deliberately and ritually sealed. What they recorded. And why the symbols point to the oldest calendar in human history. By the end, you will understand why they all point to the same place. Let's look at the facts first, because the facts alone are enough to change how you think about early human history. In 2021, the Turkish Ministry of Culture and Tourism launched the Taş Tepeler Project, which translates as the Stone Hills Project. Its mandate? To systematically excavate a network of pre-pottery Neolithic sites in the Şanlıurfa province of southeastern Turkey. 12 sites in total. The 2 most excavated, Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe, are where the most extraordinary evidence has emerged. But all 12 share the same T-shaped pillars, the same symbolic vocabulary, and the same deliberate burial. 12 sites, all pre-pottery Neolithic, all featuring T-shaped pillars, all sharing the same architectural conventions and symbolic vocabulary. This is not a coincidence of archaeology, this is a pattern. Before the Taş Tepeler Project, Göbekli Tepe was treated as an anomaly, a stunning exception to everything we thought we knew about what pre-agricultural humans were capable of. Brilliant, isolated, inexplicable. The anomaly explanation only works if there's one site. There are 12. And here is what that multiplies. If one site required organized labor, specialist builders, and knowledge transmission across generations, 12 sites requires all of that coordinated across a region spanning hundreds of square kilometers. There are 12. Coming up, what Karahan Tepe specifically contains, described by the excavators themselves as unlike anything else ever found. Of all 12 Taş Tepeler sites, Karahan Tepe is the one we keep coming back to. It sits roughly 46 kilometers east of Göbekli Tepe. Discovered in 1997, but only systematically excavated from 2019 onward. And what the excavators found inside is extraordinary. Where Göbekli Tepe is dominated by animal carvings, foxes, vultures, scorpions, snakes, Karahan Tepe places the human figure at the center of its ritual life. More than 250 T-shaped pillars, highly realistic human sculptures with carved facial features. A dramatic rock-cut ritual chamber centered around a seated human figure. And in the 2025 excavation season, a T-shaped pillar carved with a clearly defined human face, 12,000 years old. The 2025 Karahan Tepe excavation season is documented in the official reports of the Karahan Tepe Archaeological Project, led by Professor Necmi Karul of Istanbul University. The T-shaped pillar with a clearly defined human face was published in the project's official season report and covered by the Turkish Ministry of Culture press release dated to the 2025 season. The physical pillar remains in situ at the site. It has not been moved to a museum. Anyone who visits Karahan Tepe can stand in front of it. Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe appear to represent different emphases within the same tradition. Göbekli Tepe speaks in the language of animals. Karahan Tepe speaks in the language of the human body. We have been asking whether these sites are connected. The better question is, What tradition were they both expressing? What that difference means? Whether it represents a theological shift, a regional variation, a temporal development, nobody knows yet. But it tells us something important. These 12 sites were not identical copies of each other. They shared a vocabulary. They did not share a single voice. This is the behavior of a culture, not a cult. A tradition with regional variation, local expression, and what appears to be a shared but not uniform belief system. A tradition that also, at some point, decided to bury everything it had built. 12 sites, same pillars, but not identical. Each one expressing something slightly different within the same tradition. And every single one of them was deliberately buried by the people who built them. Still ahead, the burial question. Why every single site was deliberately sealed by the people who built it, and why nobody has answered it yet. Here is what the archaeology shows. Every enclosure at Göbekli Tepe was deliberately filled in with rubble and debris, animal bones, stone tools, broken fragments, carefully packed in. Not abandoned, not collapsed, filled. This was not the work of time or nature. The builders themselves buried the site. And Karahan Tepe? The same. When the communal structures were no longer needed, statues were decapitated, the heads placed at the bases of the pillars, faces turned toward the walls, and then the entire site was filled in with rubble and buried. The decapitated statue heads at Karahan Tepe are among the most striking physical objects in the entire Taş Tepeler excavation. Multiple carved stone heads, severed from their bodies at some point before or during the burial process, have been found placed at the bases of the T-shaped pillars, faces turned toward the stone. They are photographed and published in the official excavation reports. The heads are not small artifacts. They are large, realistic, deliberately carved human heads, placed in specific positions as part of a closing ritual. The physical evidence for intentional ritual closure is in the ground. This detail, the decapitation before burial, the deliberate turning of faces to the wall, is not careless decommissioning. It is a ritual, a specific, intentional, ceremonial act of closure. It implies something. It implies intention. That the burial was not surrender. It was completion. The structure had served its purpose. The ritual required that it be sealed. What that purpose was, we don't fully know. 3 main positions exist in the scholarship. The first, decommissioning. Each enclosure had a defined lifespan. When its ritual function was complete, it was deliberately closed and new enclosures were built nearby. The burial preserved the site's sacredness while ending its active use. The second, protection. The burial was a way of keeping something safe, not hiding it from outsiders. The sites are monumental, visible, central to their landscape, protecting the structures themselves from decay, from weather, from the passing of centuries. The third position is the one I find hardest to set aside. What if the burial was intentional preservation, not for the people of that time, but for someone else? What if the people who built these structures understood that what they were encoding in stone was too important to lose, and that the only way to ensure its survival across the millennia was to seal it beneath the earth? We can't prove that. The scholarship doesn't support it as a consensus. But the fact that every single one of the 12 sites was deliberately buried, consistently, ritually, completely, is a fact that every other explanation has to account for. Coming up, what these sites were recording in their symbols, the part that connects to everything else Season 2 has uncovered. The T-shaped pillars at these sites are not blank. They are covered in carvings. And in 2024, a peer-reviewed study published in the Journal of Neolithic Archaeology made a specific claim about what those carvings record. The study examined the V symbols on Pillar 43 at Göbekli Tepe, one of the most heavily carved pillars at the site, and argued that they can be interpreted as a lunisolar calendar system with 11 additional days added to align the lunar and solar years. The 2024 paper is Mouhou et al., a lunisolar calendar encoded in the symbolic carvings of Göbekli Tepe Pillar 43. Journal of Neolithic Archaeology, 2024. It is peer-reviewed and openly accessible. Pillar 43 itself, sometimes called the Vulture Stone, is one of the most photographed archaeological objects in the world. The V symbols under examination are visible in every photograph of the pillar. The physical carving has been there for 12,000 years. The interpretation of what it records is new. If that interpretation is correct, Pillar 43 is the oldest known calendar in human history. 12,000 years old. Encoding the same fundamental astronomical problem that our Jubilees episode showed was still being argued about 2,000 years ago. The same study noted that the 11-pillar pool structure at Karahan Tepe appears to encode the same lunisolar calendar system. Same mathematics, different site, 46 kilometers apart. They were not just sharing an architectural style. They were sharing knowledge. And the knowledge they were sharing was astronomical, the movement of the sun and moon, the structure of time. The same problem that every subsequent civilization, Sumerian, Egyptian, Hebrew, Vedic, tried to solve. Göbekli Tepe and its siblings were not recording mythology. They were recording science. Whether or not you accept that specific interpretation, and the debate is ongoing in the scholarly community, the broader point stands. These structures required mathematical precision to construct. They required coordination across a region. They required a tradition of knowledge transmission across generations. That is not the behavior of people without civilization. That is civilization. We just haven't been calling it that because the category we had, hunter-gatherer, has no room for what these 12 sites represent. Up next, the honest position on what 12 sites changes about the official story of human civilization. And the question the Taş Tepeler Project has not yet answered. I want to be precise about what I am and am not claiming. I am claiming that the Taş Tepeler network, 12 sites, same region, same period, same architectural and symbolic vocabulary, represents organized, coordinated human activity at a scale and sophistication that the consensus narrative of early prehistory did not account for. This is not a fringe position. This is what the Turkish Ministry of Culture and the German Archaeological Institute are excavating and publishing. This is mainstream archaeology revising itself in real time. I am not claiming that this proves a lost civilization in the sense of a technologically advanced ancient culture. The Taş Tepeler people were pre-pottery Neolithic. They did not have metal. They did not have cities in the sense we use the word. They may not have had writing, though the symbols at these sites raise that question in ways that are not yet resolved. What I am claiming is that the category hunter-gatherer does not describe what the people who built these 12 sites were doing. They were organized. They had a shared tradition. They had specialist builders. They had a system for encoding and transmitting complex astronomical knowledge across generations. And then, one by one, they buried everything they had built. The question that the Taş Tepeler Project has not yet answered, and may never answer, is what happened to these people. The sites stop. The tradition ends. There is no clear successor culture that carries the T-shaped pillar tradition forward. Something ended here. Whatever it was, gradual cultural shift, catastrophic event, deliberate dispersal, the builders of 12 monumental sites sealed their work beneath the earth and disappeared from the archaeological record. We called Göbekli Tepe an anomaly because we only had one site. Now we have 12. The anomaly is the official story, not the sites. Season 2 has been tracing a question across civilizations and across millennia. What is on the other side of the official record? The Taş Tepeler sites are a partial answer. Not a lost civilization in the popular sense, but something the official story had no category for. A tradition, a network, a shared knowledge system that was intentionally sealed and intentionally preserved. Whatever these people knew, they wanted it to survive. Which burial theory hits hardest? The decommissioning reading or the idea they sealed it for someone in the future to find? Let us know in the comments. Next, the older gods who lost the war between divine traditions, the Norse Aesir and Vanir. What the older tradition knew, what the merger cost, and why the same pattern appears in Sumer, Rome, and India.